Welcome to the Liberty Collaborative, where the past meets the present in the fight for freedom. We uncover the roots of liberty, spotlight the people who shaped it, and explore what it takes to preserve it today. If you're ready to think deeper, stand stronger, and act with purpose, you're in the right place. Let's reclaim what matters most.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Liberty Collaborative podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Aaron Bowman, here with Michael Hancock, Chris Coyle, and K. Carl Smith. Welcome, gentlemen, to today's episode, Marching into the Cities, Federal Power or Founders Warning. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, everybody.
Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Clean slate, right? Okay, Carl, clean slate. We start again.
Let's don't go there, Chris, right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me warm up first.
You mean just like they were?
Yeah, no, it was terrible. I don't think we got warm. Terrible performance. I don't mind losing,
Right.
but at least play hard. You know,
Yeah.
that's my problem. But anyway, I'm ready to be here with you guys today, though.
I just think you ought to
Take me
send
away from that world for a minute.
Saban, you ought to send him a case of Tums. He had to have indigestion. I even watched an Alabama huddle where they bumped into each other leaving the huddle. Now, you know, Saban would be eating his hat if he saw that. Anyway.
Well, you know, Trump's doing some good things. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. And I kind of want to frame this up a little bit. We're going to start, I guess, fellas, with DC and the federalization of troops and how Trump was able to do that because DC is not a state. And they have the Home Rule Act that he was able to use. And then I think we're going to pivot that into Chicago because there's been a lot of talk about him sending federal troops there. And Louisiana, I think, was the latest that I heard.
New Orleans, yeah.
New Orleans. So, and there's some constitutional stuff there we can talk about. We can talk about Article 1, Section 8, Article 4, Section 4. So there's some things here that I think we really need to unpack because I think a lot of, and I just did it. So, quick story. The radio show, my mother's been giving me some feedback. She says, you say, you know, too much. And I think, so I'm trying to come up with other ways to say, I think without saying, I think. And now it's like subconsciously, I like catch myself. So what it seems to be happening in the news is this left side. And I have some clips here to play that it is more fear mongering to, or from the Democrats that we have a dictator taking over. We're going to have these federalized troops in our streets. They're going to be taking over these policing powers. We're going to have to put them in our homes and all that type of stuff. So I hope they have some good stuff today that we can unpack on all this.
Well, it's nice to know what you think. I don't like that. Go ahead.
So who would like to start this off today?
Are we live streaming?
We are live streaming.
Okay.
We are on X and we are on YouTube. And if anybody wants to leave a comment or anything like that, we will put it on the screen when it comes up.
Well, I start off. I just want to say this. There's so much we don't know. And you just kind of teed this up for me because where's the truth in all this? So we can make some type and be informed about it. Because I don't trust anything that comes through the mainstream media at all, especially when it talk about Trump, because they have their agenda. And so I'm in a situation here. Is it good? It's legal? It's constitutional. I understand that. But is it having any positive impact on what he's doing in these communities? That I don't know. I mean, I'm not talking to people in these communities who were in the hood experiencing the high crime rates because the media spins it in a way. Oh, he has tanks on every street corner. He's bringing in all the military to loaded M16, whatever weapons they have. It's a gloom and doom scenario, and that's what people are hearing. And so when the mainstream media talks about it, it's not a good thing in terms of optics for the administration. My concern is, okay, where's the truth is all this? Is it helping? I know it's not going to be long term. Is it beneficial? Oh my gosh. And there's so much, for me personally, it's so much I don't know. I don't know what I know.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, K. Carl. Depending on what your media sources are that you're looking at, you're getting one story versus another. But the fact of the matter is that when you really sort of peel back the onion and look at what's going on, for example, in DC, on the one hand, you'll hear Muriel Bowser, the mayor, basically confirming that, oh, gee, things are getting better. This is
Yeah.
really good. But on the other side, she'll turn around and say, well, you know, we really shouldn't have these federal troops here, and attempting to try to have it both ways. And I think that, you know, for me, it comes down to answering the question, are our citizens' civil rights being protected? Right. And what you see in a lot of these cities, especially those where you have Democratic mayors, large cities where crime is rampant, you see that the civil rights of the citizens, of those urban citizens, are just simply being violated. And any suggestion that you should help those citizens from a federal level is they throw up their hands and say, no, stay away, don't help.
You know, it's guys, it's almost like we've created a new normal. And apparently the new normal in DC till a few weeks ago, the new normal in Chicago and all these is incredible crime rates. And when it was compared to international, it was more dangerous than war zones. Let that sink in. More dangerous than war zones. But K. Carl and Michael, and I'm going to point this to you. I think there is such a sub theme going on here where the Democrats that claim that they're for everybody, the discrimination against the blacks is in non-action, in looking the other way. So it's black on black crime that no one wants to talk about. They won't admit it, but that's what it is. So if some tourist around the Capitol, Aaron, gets mugged, it's one thing, but what if the people being killed in DC are minorities? And stopping that, the political question we get into in a little bit here is the context of this setup. Because look at Pritzker. I know we'll get Aaron to Chicago, but look at the box that Trump has put him in. And the mayor, how do you defend the defenseless? You can't defend the murder rate. So what do? They go on TV and say, no problem here. I think that's overtly racist when they go, well, it's a problem in those neighborhoods, the hood, but on, you know, the Drive shopping center of Chicago, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Someone's
Chris,
got to call that out.
Yeah, Chris, but they don't even mention the bad areas. They're just saying things aren't that bad and they're getting slightly better. And I actually ran the numbers on Chicago. Supposedly they've got a 30% reduction in murders. Right. And what I did was I said, well, what does it look like in 5 years if they continue that same rate of reduction? Well, that would be over the next 5 years, another 2,500 people murdered, right? Another 2,500 families distraught, right? And so they don't really want to deal with the problem. They just want to try to ignore it, minimize it until the administration shifts to the point where nobody's looking at it again, right? And I think, K. Carl, one of the things that you might do is, could you provide us with like the context of the 1877 compromise, where they dealt with this whole thing of federal soldiers coming in to take care of problems?
Yeah, you're talking about really this was during the time of Reconstruction.
Yep.
And when you had federal troops, well, you know, Doug said on one occasion, he said the first duty, Doug has said, of the national government, he didn't say federal, national government, is protection of the people.
Yeah.
You have to protect your citizens. That's the first duty. So what we had going on in the South, you had the federal government had deployed troops in the South to protect the lives of free black slaves, former slaves, to protect them so they could vote, so they could live, so they wouldn't be attacked at random in their homes. So you had federal troops down south doing that. But when it came up to the election of 1877, you had Rutherford Hayes running against a Democrat, and that election was so tight. It was almost like Gore versus Bush. It was so tight that the Democrats was going to question the results of the election. And so you had both parties sat down and said, you know what, let's work this out. So the Democrats said, look, if you give us the power back in the South and leave us alone, we'll give you the power of the White House. And Rutherford Hayes and the Republican Party, they agreed with it and basically sold black folks out. So the folks down south, when they pulled the troops out, everything, you had massacres of black politicians in New Orleans. You had massacres in Mississippi. You had Southern white Democrats took up violence to regain the political power in the South, and that's because the federal troops that were there were pulled out that protect the
Wow.
lives of the blacks,
That's
and
such
that's the
interesting
problem.
history.
Yeah.
You know, think about, guys, just think for a minute, the current news, okay? So you have a judge in Boston the other day said, no, the Trump administration can't cut certain funding for Harvard because a First Amendment question. So there's a defendant, there's damage to that defendant, there's the plaintiff, right? Now let's take this case. So the governor or the mayor, you take it, says what Trump is doing is illegal. And the damage that I and we are suffering in Illinois is what? That the crime will actually go down like DC. So in some ways, it's a genius construction of a claim, because the guys defending supposedly Chicago and the state of Illinois, what are they defending? A crime rate. And Michael, to your reporting on the crime, it was exposed at least in DC. And we all know this nationally. They no longer report misdemeanors, right? Shoplifting, they don't do it. And I would submit to you in Chicago. So there's a lot of question on these statistics of whether a murder, well, it was a related, so it was a gun accident. We don't know if the crime rate really is coming down. But the construction of this claim is fascinating from a political standpoint. It's pretty clear Pritzker's getting ready to run for president.
Yeah, and Brandon Johnson, the mayor, I don't know if you guys saw his executive order, right? His executive order is to stop the federal government from coming into the city because they want to protect the federal, they want to protect the citizens of Chicago from Trump, right? Versus all the murdering that's going on.
Right. And before we get to Chicago, I'm looking at local 12, which is out of DC, I think. So they have a little article here over Labor Day weekend, because we just had Labor Day weekend. So here's some numbers coming out of that weekend. There were more than 200 arrests, 20 illegal guns were seized, and 70 of those arrests were on Monday night. They have now totaled 168 illegal guns removed from the streets and almost 1,700 arrests since the federalization of troops have come in. And wow, those are some big numbers. And when we get to Chicago, I find the argument from the other side of the coin is, where is it here in my notes? Homicides are down 33%, shootings are down 38%, carjackings are down 49% in 2025. Down from what? They never tell you what it's actually down from and how high those numbers are.
It's worse than war zones.
It is.
That's like saying there's a pause in the war.
That's a good point. If you have a war zone situation and you're down 38%, that don't mean anything. It's still a war zone. No. So it's very interesting how that Trump is doing this. And I just sit back and watch the reaction of those the Democrats in power, the liberals in power. They attack him. What they're doing to make him look, they try to make him look like a buffoon without addressing the issue why he says he's there.
So, K. Carl, to that point, and all of us, Aaron, help us, or maybe Michael. Let's differentiate these. DC, we know that there are laws in place that allow the federal government to do what it did, because of the nature of the District of Columbia.
Yep.
In Los Angeles, the authority, and they're still battling this. You recall there was, once again, Northern District in California, judge said what he did was wrong. But what he did was, and I think he'll win as it's appealed, he went in under the guise of protecting federal buildings and federal officials and performing their duty. He didn't say, now, did they help and coordinate with the LAPD? Sure, they did. what's the difference of those two, protecting federal assets in California and the unique circumstance of DC, and then New Orleans or Chicago? What's the basis for this action?
So in DC, Chris, he invoked the emergency act, the Home Rule Act, which allowed him to bring in those federal troops to help with the crime. Now,
but there's only one jurisdiction in the country that has that.
Right, DC. Yeah. Now, when you start looking at other states, because DC is not a state, you have to start looking at his constitutional power. So you're going to see that he has the right to come in and protect the federal buildings, federal employees, that sort of thing. Where the military can't come in is DUI stops, high risk stops, traffic stops, that sort of thing, acting in a law enforcement capacity.
But is that the situation? I'm just playing devil's advocate. Clearly in LA, they were marching as ICE was in the middle of a riot.
Right.
You don't see that in Chicago. So I'm just curious. Again, the political context, I think, is genius because it's displaying, like you guys said, what's Pritzker protecting. But I really can't, I haven't done enough research to know what is the constitutional basis other than if there's unrest and crime this bad, we have the authority, right, of an executive to move to stop it. I'm just curious.
I agree with that. I mean, they can use as an argument to protect, nothing about protecting buildings. You're protecting American citizens. You don't have to go that way.
Yeah.
You have to protect American citizens. Who cares about a daggone building when citizens' lives are at stake?
Yeah,
and
that's the rule. I mean, I'm thinking about. I go back to the time of Reconstruction when they sent federal troops down south. They weren't down there protecting a museum. They were down there protecting black folks.
Yeah,
and that's where Article 4, Section 4 comes in, and that's where the U.S. must guarantee every state a republic form of government and protect against invasion on request and against domestic violence. So if you have a government that is, local government that is not stepping up to protect its people, the federal government's job is to protect our unalienable rights. So they have to come in and reconstitute the law and order in that area. And I think that's where we're going to see this going, is he's going to use Article 4, Section 4 to say, hey, listen, we have this domestic violence going on. The people in power and these local governments aren't doing anything. And we have a constitutional right to protect a person's right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, those unalienable rights. And I think that's where we're going to see this play out personally.
Excellent. This is the tension, right? The tension between what the federal government is really supposed to do, according to our Constitution, protect our civil rights, protect our individual rights, our life, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And so, but then you have these mayors and governors who basically said, no, federal government, you can't do that because of the Posse Comitatus Act. You can't come in here and protect the people because, we control that. So there's that tension. And I think that what Trump is doing is he's going to push the envelope, right? Yeah. And he's going to get it taken all the way up to the Supreme Court, because these people really are intent upon destroying, from my perspective, the civilian communities and our rights and our ability to live in a peaceful in peaceful cities.
Yeah,
Last question, guys. I want to be the devil's advocate. Why is Trump really doing this? I mean, is it an attractive distraction away some other things he's dealing with? He's trying to throw a rock over there. I mean, because the crime in these cities has been going on for a long time, even when his first term in office. But now he's doing it. So why is he really doing this? I mean, that's the question I have, because you know how politicians are on both sides. They'll come up with an event or an incident somewhere to get you to look over there to pull your eyes off what they're dealing with. I don't know.
Yeah, that is so good.
I mean, Epstein, I don't know what's going on.
So my crack on is this. We got the midterms next year. Okay. And to your point, the polls continue to show that the majority of people, I believe, including a bunch of Democrats, see the Republicans as more trustworthy when it comes to security, law enforcement. And in a way, Trump, I believe, has rediscovered sort of the core values of, you can argue all these existential questions about, is it a tariff or is it trade equity? Is it this or is it that? Birthright citizenship. But when you call into the spotlight, guys, basic public safety, Pritzker, I don't know how Pritzker argues other than making up narratives that this is a dictator. Everyone who's watching it on the ground goes, I don't know. I like walking around DC, Aaron. It feels kind of safe.
And Chris,
So, Carl, to your point, it could be, but it's actually a masterstroke. If you're going to frame a debate, why not frame it on the core rail of what your party stands for?
Well, if it's for that reason, then this whole thing is ingenious, isn't it?
It is.
To make the narrative where, okay, we're serious about crime. It's not just the other side. We're serious about it too.
Yeah.
But they need to go more into the hood, though, because you're not going to solve the problem unless you're in the hood.
No, that's just it. And to me, let's take Chicago. If their group does some homework and sees the number of preachers and community leaders and mothers that railed against the mayor and the governor for filling their community centers with illegal immigrants, and Chicago's been like the epicenter of anger, the Black community against the politicians, bring in illegal immigrants. And if they tap those same people, I'll bet you they're going to have lemonade stands for the troops. They're going to welcome them in.
Absolutely.
And what the mayor will hate is when these people are meeting shoulder to shoulder with Trump, thanking him. Guys, I could see that happening, a press conference where it's these people in the hood thanking the president for taking control.
Therein, Chris, is why they don't want him to come in.
Right.
Yeah, and it's going to be very important that they got to control this narrative, because I can just imagine on Black radio, they're gonna tout the left wing talking points. He's bringing in martial law. He's going to take away your rights. He's going to send you back to Africa. All this kind of stuff. So I mean, that's what they do. I mean, come on now. I mean, because Trump is the boogeyman. They're gonna make sure he's gonna look like a buffoon. He's violating your human rights. He's gonna treat you terrible because you're a Black person. This is who. That's the narrative that's been pushed. I'm listening to it every day in my community, and so the problem is, though, what the conservatives, they don't know how to get in control of their narrative. The answer is very simple. All you got to do is talk about how your values are aligned with that of Frederick Douglass and be genuine and sincere about it.
Yeah.
The left can't do anything about that.
No.
Nope.
Aaron, why is it that a community group couldn't say to the mayor in court that your executive order ordering the police department not to cooperate? If you go, well, what is it you're not cooperating on? Is this a parking ticket, like you said? No, it's cooperating on enforcement of federal law of safety. If the citizens there, I'd take this mayor and go, your executive order is illegal. It's ultra constitutional. It's dangerous.
Absolutely.
These people are here to protect us and our rights, which we share. K. Carl, to your point, that'd be the talking point, that someone is standing up for these people's rights.
And I think somebody needs to educate the mayor and governor over there that federal powers are justified when it comes to lawless violence, systematic corruption, equal protection, denial of equal protection, rather. And those are things that are happening. I think the only thing we have to worry about, like the founders talked about, is that claiming protection of liberty can easily be turned into some form of tyranny. And I don't think that's necessary here.
But that's why these governors and mayors have no leg to stand on, because when you're not doing your job, federal government must step in.
Exactly.
Let's look at what Eisenhower did when he sent the troops to Little Rock.
I was just going to bring that up. A historical precedence. That was in 1950.
He sent the 101st Airborne Division into Little Rock to make sure these Black kids were getting into this segregated, integrated school, because the local government there was blocking it.
Yep. And
let's take a look what happened in Alabama with George Wallace. Sat in front of the school at University of Alabama, denying the interests of Black. They sent federal troops in, but he did it for a show. To be honest with you,
Kennedy did the same thing in '62 with the University of Mississippi. So it's not like this hasn't ever been done before. Trump's just doing it to clean up the streets. And I think, Chris, to
Well,
your point, is
They
that
don't like that Trump is doing it. That's what they
That's
don't
it.
like. They don't like that Trump is doing it. Okay,
And I-
keep that.
you know,
Right.
and I was going to say that I think, like, to Chris, to your point, him doing this really shows that the left, the progressive Democrats, really don't have an answer to this crime, and it's really making them look bad that he's coming in, cleaning up their cities right before the midterm.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
that speak volumes, I think, to the people in those cities.
oh, absolutely. And the fact is that not only do they not have an answer, they don't want to answer. They don't want to answer the
Yeah,
problem.
that's right. They changed the narrative, Michael.
Yeah.
They label something that's, blue. They say, no, that's really purple or red. Just look the other way.
Or it doesn't exist.
Guys, an interesting, and I'm going to tie little threads together here. We all know in our jurisprudence system, our system of laws, that there's this idea that we are going to make consequences for violating laws, going to jail, death penalty, fines. And the idea is that society needs to see accountability, and that, Aaron, from your law enforcement days, there's something called the deterrent effect. So how long do you wait? What do you do when in California, for example, they say, well, we're not going to send a police cruiser for a misdemeanor. Shoplifting, we're going to look the other way. Catch and release. What signal? And we all remember the broken windows theory of New York, that if you allow petty crime, it garners. So the question comes, what's government's right to prevent crimes? The idea was, we'll come down. Well, one way to prevent it is a show of force. If there are people there on streets, right, like in DC, and I got to give Dershowitz a shout out here. I'm halfway through this. It's a fascinating book called The Preventative State. And if you look at, he talks about, but you look at the raid on Iran a number of months ago, they determined we weren't going to wait until Iran proved us right or wrong. We had enough evidence. So back to this consequence, do you wait till crime is doubled, Michael and Aaron? Where do you intercede? And it seems to me, if the Trump administration, a brief, can say the Supreme Court, whoever, here are the statistics of Chicago compared to war zones. And worse, Michael, again, look at the communities being most affected by this violence. I would say it's a civil rights violation.
Absolutely.
I think you could even bring in the 14th Amendment, right? Isn't there like equal protection under the law or something like that? Yeah.
So it seems to me there's a strong preventative action situation here of facts that say, look, every day we do not do this, more people are added. And when they quibble, it's up a little, it's down a little. Tell that to the mother who just lost their 13-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
Or to the infant where a bullet from a drive-by gang went through the wall of their apartment and killed their daughter in bed. And these are real stories.
So, Chris, real quick, I just want to say to the people online watching, thank you. If you're on X, you can send me a DM if you have a question or comment that you want to ask any of us. Same for those of you on YouTube. And just, Chris, to that point, I got a clip here I want to play from CBS Chicago about what happened over Labor Day weekend in Chicago. So just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear this.
We can't hear it.
That's interesting. Let me maybe I have to share the screen. But I would. You guys can talk. I'll figure this out here real quick. And
Chris, what I would say is that there's an interesting dynamic that's going on here. You have progressives who have fundamentally done things throughout our nation with institutions and others to really diminish our confidence in these things. And so then, of course, since Trump has become president back the first time, what they've done is all they could to totally distort what he's all about.
Yeah.
So they made him a dictator and an authoritarian, which is absolutely not the case. So now the question in the minds of some will be, Is Trump actually doing what he says he's doing, or is he just simply doing this as a way of furthering his attempt to be a dictator or an authoritarian? Both of which our government, the way it's structured, inhibits, but the progressives have done so much to totally distort the context of what's going on that people just don't know.
And the record here, guys, remember these famous words, mostly peaceful protests?
Right.
Remember the fact that Nancy Pelosi said, oh, they're laying off a little steam, billions of dollars of private property burned and ruined in all these cities. This is their baby. That's their heritage from the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Aaron, do you want to play that?
Yeah, I'm going to play this clip here. So this is CBS Chicago. This is what took place over Labor Day weekend.
It has been a violent holiday weekend in Chicago, including a shooting tonight near Montrose Beach, where police tell us a man was hit in the arm. The number of people shot looks like it will be double the same weekend last year. And all of this while Chicago is under the microscope. City leaders waiting to see if President Trump will send in the National Guard this week. We have team coverage tonight, starting with our Sabrina Franza. And Sabrina, we're still waiting on official totals from CPD.
So let me see if I can get to the total. So with this, there were 58 shootings and 7 people died over Labor Day weekend. And they say there's no problem there.
They certainly don't have an accuracy problem.
Or crime is being reduced, although it's double what it was last year, right?
Yeah. You can't make it up. But they'll say that they don't need any help and that, you know, the tyrant's coming in because he wants to rule everything like Putin, you know, and it's just not the case. He has right.
If I might, and maybe this is a bit of overinterpretation of what they're saying, but if you think about it, if they're like, remember the famous Al Capone gangs, or we'd see The Godfather, they drive up and they machine gun the guy in the car. And you remember in the scene in the street, everybody clears out. They kind of are warned. What's going on in a lot of these gang-related things is they're spraying bullets.
Yes.
They're spraying them. And so when you hear that kind of injury, this just shows you the level of lawlessness and danger to the community. It's one thing if there's a guy fighting another gang member one-on-one and they're shooting each other. These are guys spraying people, carjacking. I mean, it's really, to me, it shows how rampant and out of control the crime is, or an indicator.
I mean, I just saw something this morning when I was getting the kids off to school. There was a lady, and I believe it was Chicago. She was attacked. Her eye socket was broken. Her nose was displaced. I think her cheekbone was broken. And the guy that did it had 13 mugshots, and they put them all up over the years. 13 times this guy has assaulted people, gotten out of jail because of the cash bond nonsense, and then beats up women in the street. I mean, you shouldn't have 13 mugshots. That's insane.
There's no respect for law and order, especially coming from a younger generation. They have no idea of the consequences of their actions. They just do it.
Right.
I don't care if it's murder. I don't care if it's robbing. So what we're talking about now is not fixing the problem. We're addressing the problem after the act that has occurred. How do we fix it? I think the problem not having religion in schools is a major concern, because what the law does, the law punishes you once you commit the crime. God law whoops on you before you act on the crime. It bothers your conscience. You think about it.
Yep.
That's what's missing, in my opinion. We need to get back to that. We
Well-
need to get back to putting God first. I don't know, God with a capital G first in our schools and our children's lives. I mean, that's the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, Carl, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is that that's absolutely one of the main, and from my perspective, the major things that need to be done. Also, you've got people like George Soros financing the campaigns of prosecutors, right, that go in and basically undermine the law, right? They reverse things. They go ahead.
You know what? Some just hit me. When we don't punish the corruption that's being committed by our leaders,
Yep.
That trickles down.
Oh yeah.
I was just going to say that.
That's the problem.
Okay, Carl, the broken window theory again in New York was that if you allow petty crime, it goes. But I would submit to you what you just said is the same thing coming the other way. When people watch year after year, federal authorities carrying badges, lying to FISA courts, lying, filling their bank accounts, the Biden crime family, the Clinton crime family, lying, people see a two-tier justice system. And so this erodes people's desire, right? It erodes their feeling that they really have a fair game.
Yeah, and Stephanie Hancock agrees with us. So thank you.
No
This costs us
consequence, no
leadership.
restraint. Boy,
Yeah, we got-
Michael, we can see where the
Yeah.
good writing comes from. Holy cow, that's a great headline. You have to get Stephanie on here.
And I think the other thing too is, K. Carl, like Frederick Douglass talked about, is personal responsibility. There is zero personal responsibility. Nobody, like you're saying, is being held accountable for their actions. And I think a lot of that, we need to get back to those, take them out behind the shed and hit them with the switch to set them straight.
That's a good point.
When leather belts in our house, So
When you have no sense of personal responsibility, that's a Marxist mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally a Marxist mindset.
Yeah.
The government take care of me.
Yeah.
I was somewhere speaking, guys, one time, and I think I was in Virginia speaking. I was speaking to the little young lady. She's a little kid, about 13, 14 years old. And I said, so what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, well, I want to be on disability. I said, what? I said, disability is not a career option. I said, you want to be on disability? I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be on disability. I said, where is this coming from? So I went and talked to her father. He's a big, burly looking guy. I said, sir, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm on disability. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Take it up.
I'm done.
You made
No sense of personal responsibility, right?
Yep.
Right. Like you said, they want the government to take care of them. Unless you're in Chicago, then they don't want the government to come in and help you out. You can't beat it up.
Well, this will be interesting to track, you guys. And, the pattern here, you got Illinois courts, you got Northern California courts, Boston, and we know the injunctions are going to come down. The district court ruling that the Trump administration is violating the Constitution. So then it'll be interesting. It goes up to circuit court. Do they enjoin? But the consequences of these decisions, this isn't releasing funds, right? These are people's lives on this one. This is going to make this interesting. Do you enjoin the government from protecting people's lives?
It's very interesting. I think that when you going back just real quickly to the Trump and what is the strategy, K. Carl? I think that I was at a presentation recently where Newt Gingrich was speaking, right? And he happened to get off on the topic of Donald Trump. What he said is that Donald Trump is one of the smartest people he's ever met in his life. He said he plays 4D chess, okay? And so chess. And what's going on is that at the same time, he's actually tackling a problem that has been ignored, to your point, for many, many years. He's actually attacking it because I believe Donald Trump is a person who loves this country and wants to see it better. And so he's attacking that. And while attacking it, he knows the moment that he's attacked is that progressives are going to come in to attempt to try to take him out. But what is actually happening is by attacking real problems and trying to solve real problems, people are awakening and seeing that you're either for fixing the problem or you're against fixing the problems.
Yeah.
And Democrats are showing themselves not to be interested at all in fixing any of these problems.
Michael, you can make arguments all day long about tariffs or trade equity or all these issues. This issue, you guys, is pretty clear. The consequences are pretty clear.
Yep.
Well, Aaron, great show.
We had a great show. We're just at the 40-minute mark. I just appreciate everybody online that's watching. If you want to get in contact with us, you can send us an email, and it's going to come right above the bottom of the screen there. So it's libertycollaborative1818@gmail.com, or you can find us on Substack at libertycollaborative.substack.com. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
Suggest, Aaron, if we could, tell us what topics you'd like us to zero in. Again, we try and add context and content that the mainstream media won't tell you, and historical perspective. So we're very open, right, guys, to suggestions or things you'd like to hear us chat about. One of the things, guys, on my mind that I'd love us to talk about at some point here is the name, image, and likeness. This whole thing that is turning collegiate sports into something else. I'm not sure what it is. And then, K. Carl, I know it's racy, but there's some cheerleaders, I understand, are going to be on the sidelines starting tonight?
Are you going to the game to watch that?
Oh, no, sir.
Just
Nope.
to watch.
The majority of fans
I think we ought to get into this.
I think we should too, because majority of fans don't go to football games to watch the cheerleaders. They go watch the collision that's happening on the football field.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Let's make that the next show.
Let's save the next show, man.
Oh yeah, but this week, so guys, stay tuned. But this could be the NFL's Bud Light moment.
Yes.
Yes, Bud Light.
Yeah, I would say let's do this next Thursday, and everybody can catch us here live. We come on at about 10:30, 10:45, depending on technical difficulties. And then leave us a comment. You can also ask your Alexa to play the Liberty Collaborative podcast. It'll come right up there and on any of your modern podcasting apps. So with that, gentlemen, does anybody have anything else before I play the outro music?
Yeah. I just say that when leaders value politics more than the protection of the people, then liberty dies on the streets that they refuse to protect.
Yeah, well said.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I will see you all next Thursday.
Thanks for joining us on the Liberty Collaborative. If today's episode lit a fire or gave you clarity, share it and be part of the movement. Subscribe, leave a review, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, stand firm, stay free.